Hello and welcome back to the Fruit of Grisaia, Yumiko's route. In the last episode, JB was convinced, or rather persuaded, by Sakagi's father, Michiaki, to look through attacks that Michiaki had ordered on Sakagi for her to return to the East Beach so that she could take over as the head of the business conglomerate. Of course, Sakagi hadn't exactly been fond of this thought, but knew nothing of this encounter. As JB, as one of the superiors at Ichigaya, already had an agent in Yuuji in place, she requested that Yuuji was to become Sakagi's bodyguard. A task that Yuuji took upon himself without question, because that's what Yuuji does. Anyway, let's continue. Alright, let's leave it at that for today. Whoever's on day duty, please make sure to lock up the classroom and bring the key back. It's over at last. Hey Markenham, I'm going straight out to do a little shopping today. Come along and help me out.
Yeah, gotcha. But lugging the toilet paper around makes my fingers hurt, so that's your job, okay? By the way, Sachi, were you the one who took out that stuff I left in the laundry room this morning?
Well, yes, large quantities of your underwear had been left neglectedly scattered around the place, so I collected them and put everything in order. Was that problematic in some way?
I was going to say thank you, but for some reason it just got a lot harder.
You better watch your step, Michiru. Technically, we're not an all-female household anymore.
Yeah, I know, that's why
Excuse me, everyone. Alright, see you all later.
Yet again with the butt chasing.
What is this, the fourth day in a row? How long is this after-school stalking fun time going to last?
That's got a kind of a dirty ring to it. What's with the after-school and fun time and everything?
I believe that's because your mind is saturated with filthy delusions, Michiru-sama.
Excuse me! I wasn't thinking dirty thoughts, I just imagined some dirty-ish stuff for a second, that's all!
Sure, whatever you say. Moving right along. At this point, it really seemed like something more than just curiosity on his part, right?
I'm dying to know why he's chasing that ice-cold robot girl around all of a sudden. Then why don't you ask Yuuji to his face?
For one thing, I doubt Kasami-san would answer. Probably not. Yuuji doesn't really tell lies, but when he decides to keep something to himself, it's impossible to pry it out of him.
But now it's really bugging me. What the heck is he thinking? Why would he just turn into a stalker overnight? It makes no sense, and why Yumiko of all people?
Michiru-sama, if you think too hard about this, your brain will likely melt down. When pondering such matters, try to proceed in a slow and careful fashion to avoid overeating.
Can you not talk about my brain like it's some kind of cheap-ass imported machinery?
Well, I do understand where you're coming from. Once you start thinking about this, it's kind of hard to stop, but we don't really have any way of knowing what's going on.
In that case, we got no choice but to investigate.
Investigate?
How are we supposed to do that exactly? If we can't ask the guy to his face, then we got no choice but to gather information and devise our own hypothesis. Lend me a spare key of money.
Wait, you want to start rummaging around in Yuuji's room?
I don't know if that's such a good idea. What's the big deal? We're talking about Onichan here. He wouldn't leave evidence lying around in his room as if it was anything fishy. Not like he's gonna kill us to take a look-see, right, Sachin?
Indeed, I see no reason to delay. Why don't we begin our investigation this evening?
Don't come crying to me later. Leave me out of this! I didn't say a thing! No comment!
That's probably wise, Michiru.
Sachin, I think you're aware, but starting now, you're under my command. Refer to me as captain for the duration of this mission.
Sir.
Very good. Have you got the goods I asked you to bring?
Sir, we're fully supplied with gloves to avoid leaving fingerprints. I also brought a portable light capable of producing 100,000 lumens.
Alright, let's begin the investigation.
Sir!
One heck of a dreary room as always.
There isn't much here, but at least it isn't cluttered. Where shall we begin working, Captain?
Can't just start pulling out drawers and rustling around or Oni-chan's gonna get ticked off. Let's start with the more conspicuous places.
Sir! There's nothing here, Captain.
Yep, I'm not seeing anything either.
I thoroughly searched the top of his desk, the trash bin, and under the bed, but I couldn't locate any pornographic material.
Would have been fun to see Amana's reaction if we found a mag with the centerfold that looked like Yumiko, but that sort of interesting stuff just ain't anywhere to be found.
Perhaps we have no choice but to ask Asami-san after all.
Well, let's just get out of here for the moment. Things get kind of messy if Oni-chan came home, and this sort of investigation, you gotta know when to quit.
Captain? What did you just step on?
Huh? What's this? A memo book?
Captain?
Pay dirt.
Huh? Oh, Yuuji, what did you leave lying about in your room? I mean, sure it was your room. So, Makina memorized everything in Yuuji's notebook on the spot, then typed it up on the PC?
Couldn't exactly walk out of the room with it after all.
Well, yes, but it's rather amazing that you could just memorize it like that, Maki-chan. Good work, I think. Maybe. You guys didn't do anything else in there, right? I'm the one who loaned you the key and all, so, well...
Hurry up and read it already. It's some pretty crazy stuff, you know.
Don't ignore me. Okay, Mitsuru, you should jump right into reading that. I thought you wanted nothing to do with this. Mitsuru?
What is this?
Huh? What? Give it here, let's see. July 18th. Weather fine, but waves high. Today was a holiday, so there were many civilians in the street. No noteworthy events. Okay, what's so bad about this? The problem lies thereafter, Amane-san.
Yeah, thereafter.
There's more. Sakaki Yumiko's movement, 1428, left her room in the dorm, questioned her at the entrance, after which she went out. 1553, returned home, went straight to the school second floor and entered her room. Hold on. Is this,
It is indeed.
Yes, the memo book contained extensive records concerning her surveillance of Sakaki-san. Well, for the time being, I'll keep going. July 19th, 12 minutes past 20. Left her room and went outside. Made her way to the convenience store using an inconspicuous back roads. Although she approached the vicinity of the over 18 magazine counter, after 4 minutes frozen to the spot, she heaved a single sigh, proceeded to purchase a single cheap pudding and go home. Just as she was approaching the door, realized that they had forgotten to give her a spoon, quietly expressed her resentment toward a certain clerk.
July 20, 1744. While loitering around the campus, abruptly began humming to herself in a third-floor corridor. After about 10 seconds, she grew self-conscious and stopped. After carefully looking around her and confirming no one was nearby, resumed her previous humming at an increased volume. 1835. Returned to the dorm with an oddly exhausted expression on her face. July 1818. Rummaged through the wagon sale outside of the used bookstore by the station for 26 minutes, then headed to the art supply store's next door. Examined the colored pencil shelf, ultimately purchasing one box.
July 22nd, 7:54. Subject suddenly left the dormitory lobby for no apparent reason. Asked where she was going, but received no response. I proceeded to follow her at a distance. Her destination was the visitor's bathroom. Based on the time she spent inside, her objective was likely urination. This thing is, ridiculously detailed. He followed her around practically every day, asking where she was going at every opportunity and recorded the results. So in other words, this is, well, pretty much stalking, isn't it? It's hard to call it anything else.
Yuuji, of all people. A shocking truth is waiting for us.
What an extremely interesting discussion.
What? Yeah. Hey, Yumiko!
I am not going to spare me the gay. Now then, about these notes. Quite sure they're Kazamkan's work?
Yes, yeah, that's right. He snuck into his room and copied this stuff from his memo books, so it's gotta be.
It's certainly hard to imagine anyone else wrote this, I'm afraid. I see. In that case, I suppose there's nothing for it. What nerve, and in such detail. Even the times I thought I was alone. The humming, and the pudding too. I'm going to take this off of your hands, assuming you have no objections.
Go right ahead by all means.
You'll pay for this, Kasami Yuuji.
This is really bad. What the heck do we do now?
Sakaki-san had bloody murder in her eyes, didn't she? But, well, what are you gonna do? Yuuji pretty much owes her an explanation after all that.
Captain Creeper can fend for himself.
Wow, okay, that was blunt. I mean, not that I completely disagree. Never would I have guessed Yuuji was into this sort of stuff.
I'm so not dealing with this. Joker praying to me if everything turned into a complete disaster.
Oh, poor man. Means you're such a worrywart, but seriously, I wonder why Yuuji did this in the first place. Romantic feelings, perhaps? Well, that would be the obvious guess, but it's Yuuji we're talking about here. If you really did fall in love with someone, I think he'd be a lot more straightforward about it. That's actually true. That's actually some pretty good psychology on Amana's part there. Guess you did pick up a thing or two from Kazuki.
Yeah, only chance the aggressive type. Less talking, more pin you down and have his way with ya.
You really don't mince words. Well, yeah, I think Yuuji would just come out and tell someone body if he had feelings for them, you know? That's true as well. In any case, he's no doubt getting a thorough interrogation at the hands of a vicious ogre right now. We'll just have to see what happens. Would you mind explaining yourself? Bursting onto the rooftop, Sakaki strides up to me with a look of pure fury on her face, then hurls a bundle of paper in my general direction. Putting that aside for the moment, can you retract that blade before we talk? And in her left hand, the girl's holding her fully extended box cutter. Her knuckles are white. Even from a few meters away, I can see her hand trembling. That depends entirely on your response. Hurry up and explain yourself. Who did this? Makina? Sachi? What on earth does that matter? I'm asking you a very simple question. Why are you following me around like some stalker? I did stow the documents from JB about Sakaki's personal data inside a securely locked drawer. There's not much risk they found those. But my notes on Sakaki's movement didn't contain anything problematic from a professional perspective, so I wasn't nearly as careful with them. That was obviously a mistake. I'll have to punish the trespassers later, but at the moment there's a more immediate problem to deal with. Well, what do you have to say for yourself? I expect an answer. It's pretty simple. I was asked to guard you, that's all. Huh? The rage on Sakaki's face instantly changes to utter confusion. Not waiting for her to process the remark, I continue my explanation. Your father, Sakaki Michiaki, contacted my employer. After determining that your personal safety was at risk, they made arrangement for your protection. I've been assigned to the job, so knowing where you are at all times is my responsibility. I'll apologize if you find it disturbing. Sakaki's sharp glare falters. Her eyes drop to the ground at her feet, gripping her knife even more firmly than before. She mutters something too quietly for me to hear. Sakaki? Gradually her voice grows louder, until the last few words squeeze their way out of her mouth. Not necessary. Say what? Sakaki's eyes flash up to meet mine once more. That's not necessary. I don't know what my father told you, but a bodyguard is the last thing I need. You're the daughter of the East Beast Group's president. That places you in a dangerous position. If you keep walking around without any security, eventually... I don't particularly mind if someone does come for me. What's the worst that could happen? I end up dead? What? Let them kill me then. Suits me fine. I can still see the anger in Sakaki's face, but it's changed. There's a hint of something reckless and indifferent in her expression. Something like resignation. It's not as though this life's anything worth protecting. In any case, stop this nonsense immediately. With those words, Sakaki turns and leaves the roof. The hell was that about? I can understand that having someone follow you around would be unpleasant, but the reason Sakaki refused my protection doesn't seem to have much to do with that. The woman talks like she's completely disinterested in her own safety. Of course, I was ordered to protect her, so I'm going to continue doing so, But it is unsettling to hear her talk like that. Left a bad taste in my mouth. The documents I was given as Sakaki Yumiko contained extensive information on her current situation. But there was practically nothing concerning her past or that of the East Beach group. This borderline self-destructive attitude clearly didn't come from nowhere. I just don't have enough information to make sense of it. For now, the only thing I can do is take care of the job I was assigned. Can't say if this applies to more typical student dormitories, but in this place there isn't that dramatic a difference in atmosphere between school days and vacation days. The residents wear casual clothes instead of school uniform, that's about it. Days off aren't really that much of an upper, and weekdays aren't that strong a downer. The energy level around here appears to stay pretty much constant. Amanda is always doing her best dog and heat impression. Magna is constantly babbling away dubious Japanese. Sachi never fails to offer perfect service with a superficially polite smile. And Michiru, of course, is an idiot 24/7. Likewise, this woman's expression don't change much no matter what the calendar reads. Gazing at the clouds outside the window, she reaches tentatively toward an umbrella, then hesitates. After a moment, the pattern repeats itself. Eventually, she picks up the tote bag sitting at her side. She shoots a few cautious glances around the area, then begins to easily open the front door as quietly as possible. Yo! Sakaki twitches like a startled cat. Slowly, stiffly, she turns to face me. Going out, I see. Just so you know, the weather won't turn bad until late tonight. Have a safe trip. Are you planning to follow me around today as well? Despite my considerate umbrella-related tip, the woman's expression is now one of clear hostility. It's my job, after all. I told you not to bother, didn't I? How much clearer can I be about this? I don't need or want a bodyguard, so please stop following me around. Sorry, but whether you think it's necessary don't really matter. The objective evaluation was that you're in danger, and more importantly, I have orders from the main. Alright then, time to go, I guess. This is the third day in a row, isn't it? I know it's got something to do with Yuuji's job or whatever, but I gotta say, it must be pretty rough having to following her around after getting shot down that hard.
Major pain in the posterior. But why is she getting a bodyguard in the first place? Was there anything dangerous going around her? I mean, I know she's a real rich girl and all, but still. Who knows? Things might have changed, but I doubt Yuuji or Sakaki-san are going to tell us any of the details. I mean, they haven't tried asking, actually. Then I suppose all we can do is watch over them from afar for now. I guess so. Just have to hope things don't take a turn for the grisly in the meantime. Michiru-sama, I noticed that you are cocking your head in puzzlement. Allow me to explain, just to be on the safe side. In this context, grizzly refers not to a large and ferocious variety of bear, but rather to gruesome bloodshed. I know that! I wasn't even thinking about bears, I just kind of didn't know what it meant. That really ain't much better. Poor Michiru. The place where Sakaki spends her off days isn't far from the academy. Follow the footpath from our front gate until it turns to the south, then walk 300 meters or so along the prefectural road down to the sea, and you're there. There are a few obstacles and nothing in the way of blind spots, so it's not much of a challenge as an observer. Sakaki's been shooting frequent looks over her shoulder in my directions ever since we left. I'd guess 60% of the reason is her hoping to find some opportunity to slip away and escape my surveillance. The other 40 is pure anger. As for concern on behalf of her bodyguard, clearly not even a single percent. In fact, the day after I admitted to the truth, Sakaki tried to run away from me the moment she saw my face. The girl's only an amateur, so naturally it didn't take long for me to catch up. But since then, she's been constantly watching for another chance. Can't be too careless. Easy enough to catch up to her after she bolts, but there's always a possibility someone would attack her in the meantime. Far safer to constantly keep an eye on her. You're certainly focused. I'm on the job after all. They'll cut my wages if I slack off. Sakaki heaves another heavy sigh, then heads for her destination with a slightly quickened gait. Easily matching her pace, I follow in silence. After less than 10 minutes of walking, we arrive at the riverbank. The river is called the Shinosaki,
a smaller Class B river that flows down to the coast at Mishima Cape. Since we're close to where it meets the sea, it's fairly wide here, with a moderately sized bank on either side. Not too far away, one of the East Beach Express lines owned by Sakage's family cuts across the water. Every 30 minutes or so, a 2-car diesel train rumbles across the iron bridge. Exhaling softly, Sakage lowers the tote bag in her hand to the grassy ground. She settles herself down next to it, retrieves the colored pencils from inside, then drops her B4 size sketchbook against her knees. And looking straight out at the scenery before her, she begins intently moving her pencils across the paper. Oh, we even got Yuuji's face. That's not something that happens so often. Hold on, I'll just need to... Right. Got a picture for a thumbnail for later use. This screen is perfect because it has both Yumiko and Yuuji in it. And it's safe. Alright, I only learned this after becoming Sakage's guard, but the reason she abruptly leaves the campus for hours at a time is a very simple one. She draws pictures. Maybe she didn't want her classmates to know about her hobby, maybe there's some other reason. Either way, I'm just glad she wasn't coming into contact with any strange characters. In that scenario, there would have been a whole lot more troublesome preliminary cleanup to take care of. But JB probably would have warned me if the girl was up to anything too risky. I've never been that worried about her activities, in other words. More like mildly curious. Not so many clouds as before. A bit of a different feeling. Sakage's approach to her art is straightforward and unorthodox. She begins by roughly sketching out the scene in general, then proceeds to fill in details little by little. She's not quite on the level of a dedicated art student, but judging from what I've seen of her work, the girl has a good amount of talent and skill. That said, I don't have much of an eye for art, so I can tell she's good at a technical level, but I don't have any other impressions. Even if I did, expressing them would probably only irritate Sakage further. Nice weather. Hanging back far enough to not get in Sakage's way, I look up into the sky, feeling the sun beating down on my face. The latter half of July is always pretty hot, especially in this area. Nice refreshing scenery and all, but it's not the most pleasant season. Drops of sweat, the blazing summer sun, a vibrant picture taking shape. I shake my head to dispel the shadowy wisps of memory floating to the surface of my mind, then return my attention to the subject of my surveillance. The sun sinks to the horizon as if sliding gently down the slope of a mountain. All of a sudden, the area is bathed in an orange light. Perhaps taking that as a signal of sorts, Sakage gathers up her materials, stretches out her legs for the first time in hours, then slowly gets to her feet. Hey. And kicking lightly at the ground in apparent irritation, she speaks to me. You haven't said a single word this entire time, have you? All you do is stand there like a statue. Did you want me to make conversation? Of course not. I just found it a little strange that you constantly pester me about my destination, only to go completely silent after arriving. You came here to draw. Once I'd confirmed that you weren't going anywhere, I didn't have any reason to bother you. In other words, you're only asking for the information necessary to do your job. That's right. Talking to your client more than necessary would be an expression of personal interest. When that's not relevant, the bare facts are enough. What's wrong? It's nothing. That was a bit cold. I mean, okay, I get that he might not want to make her think that he is in love with her because he isn't at this point, but you're still classmates. You can be a little nicer than that, even if you are at work. At least in my opinion. Sakage turns her back in a somewhat grumpy fashion, hefts her tote bag off the ground, then begins to walk off without so much as a word. I follow her quick, irritated strides at a similar rapid pace. My investigation of Sakage Yumiko's movements and protection of her person continued along those lines. Sakage fundamentally ignored me. When she did talk, it was mostly hostile questions or arbitrary complaints. The atmosphere was badly strained, to say the least. And gradually, the complaints began to grow more frequent and more aggressive, culminating in an incident about 1 week later. And we shall take that incident in the next episode. But until then, take care.